Good morning and welcome to Member Focus Monday. I'm Christina Schaefer, Director of Social Media for HAR, and I'm very pleased to be back from our little summer hiatus with our Director of MLS, Shawn Dauphine. Welcome back to the program, Shawn.
Good morning, Christina. It's always
Th-
a pleasure to join you here.
I know we have a lot to discuss with you. A lot of things are changing in the world of MLS. We're going to get into all of it, but obviously there's a lot going on in our city right now, and I did just want to quickly address that we're thinking of all of our members right now that are currently still without power, dealing with damage from Beryl. You know, we're thinking about you. Our staff is working and available if you need any assistance. And we should also mention that we are waiting to hear, hopefully very soon, from Texas Realtors about the Realtor Relief Fund. Once we have any information about that, we will be sure to share that with all of our members on our social media channels, and that is usually available, pardon me, for both our members and their clients and customers. So anybody that sustained damage can apply for that fund. So once we know more about that, we will be sure to share it with all of our members. With that, let's get into what we're going to discuss today, Shawn. I know that there's some changes that have already occurred, some new features available for our members that they might not know about, and also some changes that we're expecting to occur very soon, along with MLS rule changes, which I know everyone needs to know about. Before we dive into all of it, Shawn, for anyone who hasn't met you before, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do at HAR.
I'm the director of MLS here at HAR and primarily responsible for overseeing the MLS and super operations of the organization. Work closely with our volunteer leadership and the HAR staff to deliver products and services that help our members be more successful. And so, I've got a background in accounting and information technology, and my father was a custom home builder. I've always had a passion for real estate, and MLS is really where technology and real estate intersect. So it's a great position for me to be in.
Absolutely. It makes perfect sense for you. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Shawn. And again, thank you for taking time out of your schedule. I know that there's, again, a lot going on in your world right now, and we're going to get into all of it. First, let's talk about some exciting things. I know that there have been some new features available to MLS subscribers that have been released over the last maybe several months to a year. Can you tell us a little bit about those features that our members can be taking advantage of?
You bet. I'll start with one of the newest features we've rolled out. It's developed in-house by our HAR technology department. It's led by our Chief Technology Officer, Taki Rizvi, and they do a great job of developing tools like Showing Smart and some of the platinum features. Some of the newest tools they've rolled out are an AI photo description tool. It makes it easy for agents to create photo descriptions on all their photos. So it's integrated tightly with Matrix. So from either within Matrix, after you've uploaded the photos, there's a link to the photo description tool, or from within the member only portal of HAR, you can type AI in the search bar and pull up your listings and be able to put those photo descriptions on. So basically it works on an incomplete or an active listing. You can upload the 50 photos. You go into the photo description tool, click one button, and it will generate photo captions for all 50 photos. And these tools are not to replace the value of an agent adding content. They're really there to assist the agent, maybe spark some creativity and save a little bit of time. And so I want to add the caveat that they should always be reviewed and edited by a human before you save them into Matrix. There's a button straight on the photo description tool that allows you to save it directly back into Matrix, which makes it super easy. So once the photo captions are generated by AI, you have an opportunity to edit them, modify them the way you want to see them, put your own words to them, and then click and save it to Matrix. So it could be a huge time saver for those that are adding 50 photo descriptions. We've heard from consumers and surveys that photos are the most important thing on a listing, and you have an opportunity to really describe the property with captions under all 50 properties. And so we think this tool will be helpful for those that are adding those captions. Can't hear you, Christina.
Apologize. Like you said, we want a human to edit it. I think it's excellent because, especially if you are an agent that puts in all 50 photos, it can be a little time consuming, a little daunting to create 50 captions for 50 different photos. This at least can help you get started and give you some creative ideas, right?
Exactly. If you're like me, it's easier for me to edit something than to start from a blank canvas. And so,
Mm-hmm.
some people are very creative. It's not a problem, but I like to have something to start with and modify. And so this is a good tool to assist in that function.
Excellent. What else can we be looking out for?
We also, a companion tool to the photo descriptions is the actual property description. So if you're, same thing with the property description, you have 1,000 characters now to modify. And, once you enter your listing, either as incomplete or active, you can use the property description tool to create a property description. So that's another AI tool that was developed along with the property descriptions. Some of the other tools that we've rolled out recently, we've also heard that floor plans, from consumer surveys, that floor plans are really important. So we really, had an initiative to encourage members to add floor plans to their listings. And so, there are a lot of photographers out there that provide floor plan solutions for members. And we're highlighting those floor plans on HAR.com on the primary photo. It'll say floor plan where you can click and view that floor plan. So one of the solutions, we partnered with a company called Kubicasa, who has a nice little mobile app for those that want to do the floor plan themselves. And it's at no cost. Any member can use this. And basically you walk through the home with your mobile app and you do a quick video tour and you send it in, and overnight it converts it to a PDF floor plan that you can then upload into Matrix. So it's a really nice tool. They're coming out with their newest version 3.0, and so they're adding some new enhanced features. So with that same walkthrough you're doing to create the floor plan, you can now create a 3D tour, and a video tour. So those are add-on products, and our members get a 25% discount on all of those add-on products. So it's been very successful. We've seen a lot more floor plans coming into the MLS since we've launched Kubicasa. And if you're not using Kubicasa, we encourage you to use, whatever software works for you, or what a photographer that works for you. But definitely, floor plans are a very important aspect of the listing.
Very good. Any other features you want to mention?
Sure. Well, we'll just talk a little bit about, rentals have been a big part of the MLS of late, and a lot of members are really, making a business out of rentals. So we partnered with a company called Rent Spree to offer online applications at no charge to our members and no charge to the tenant for the online application. There is a $40 charge to the tenant for a background check. So this application, Rent Spree, allows you to manage provide a dashboard so that you can manage all of your applications online, as well as provide responses to tenants that do apply. So it's a pretty nice tool. It's integrated with Matrix. When you add your lease listing, you can just select from the online platform that you want Rent Spree, and then they'll email you a link to get you set up and get you onboarded onto that product. And we did the implementation inside of Matrix to really support any platform, because we know members have their own platform that they like to use, and so they can easily add the online application URL into Matrix so that people can make online appointments with their own platform if they're not using Rent Spree. So that's the three, I'd say, products that we've rolled out most recently that I think members can take advantage of.
Those are excellent products, and I've seen some great reviews from a few of our members in some of our online forums and our MLS Platinum subscribers Facebook group. I just wanted to mention that we had a comment here from Foster, just said, I've used the AI photo and property description, love it. We also had Stefan who said, I like the AI photo app, so some more reviews there from them. Going back to the AI really quick, Foster did have a question just for general knowledge. Do you have to put some text on each photo or a description in order for AI to do its job? So basically, do you have to prompt the AI, or can the AI kind of read what's in the photo on its own?
Well, that's a great question. It will start from scratch. It will read what's features in the photo, and it will provide a caption, based on what's in the photo. If you add a description prior to using the AI, it will accommodate, and incorporate what you've added as well. So I would encourage you to put a few keywords in there and then submit it to AI. And then you can always edit it again. And then there's another button. You can, take a second crack at it. If you didn't like what the AI said the first time, you can add your own comments and hit AI again, and it'll regenerate another caption for you.
Very good. And I saw that in the comment, Foster did use an emoji. It does give you the option to use emojis or not. So if you are not an emoji user, you don't have to utilize those if you don't want to. A question here about Rent Spree. Alicia asked, can the landlord access the prospect tenant report directly?
They would get copied on it, yes.
All right. Excellent. Well, thank you, Shawn, for reviewing those tools. There were a few questions about what you were mentioning, if they were platinum or not, and we did answer those in the comments, so hopefully everybody saw it. The AI tools that Shawn mentioned are platinum. The others are available for all MLS subscribers. Am I
That's
correct on
right.
that, Shawn? All right.
That's right. That's
And
right.
then just a comment that came in from Shad Bogany on that note, who said platinum is worth it. So just
It
wanted to
is. I
share
mean, it's
that too.
$129 a year right now, and that's a bargain. I mean, Cloud CMA is one of the products that is included in that, and if you bought that alone, you would be paying a couple of $100 a year just for that one product. So I think Platinum is a no-brainer to me.
Absolutely. Kathy asked, and I don't know if you know this offhand, Shawn, but I think there's some online charts that compare the two. Do you know the difference between My Smart Move and Rent Spree?
They're very comparable. I think
Mm-hmm.
Rent Spree is integrated with the Matrix, so I think that is going to make it easier for members. I've heard positive feedback on both. I've heard some negative on My Smart Move, but nothing specific. But I think they're comparable products. So I mean, if you're comfortable with My Smart Move, continue using it. But I would encourage you to put that application URL into Matrix so agents can make that application straight from Matrix.
Great. John is asking how reliable or accurate are the floor plans that you get with Cuba Casa. I've seen all great reviews. I don't know about you, Shawn.
Surprisingly very accurate.
Yeah.
You would think, wow, it's almost like magic. You're just
Hmm.
basically kind of doing a video walkthrough, and then you've got a PDF. And so, no, there's been great feedback on the accuracy of those. I mean, you obviously need to check it before you upload it. You'll get an opportunity to look at that PDF before it goes into Matrix. But the
Hmm.
accuracy's been very reliable.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, those are features that are already available to MLS subscribers. Are there any new tools or features in the pipeline that you can share with us?
Yes, I mean we're always looking for new ways to add value to our member subscriptions, and so one of the things that we're looking at, CoreLogic is working, or they're our vendor for Matrix, CoreLogic. They're working on a new search for Matrix that we're anticipating to roll out in Q3. And this, it's kind of built in responsive design, so it works better on a mobile device. If you've ever accessed Matrix directly on your phone, it's not a great experience. So this will allow for more flexibility when accessing it via mobile. The other big feature is it takes advantage of your full screen on your PC. So a lot of
Mm.
users have big monitors, and when they're using Matrix, they discover that it only fills up half the screen. And so this new search will fill up your entire screen. You'll have your search criteria on one side. You've got the search results on the map and the search results grid at the bottom. So it's all kind of on one screen. If any of the users out there remember Fusion that we had at one point, there were some users that really love that product. This is kind of a little designed a little bit more to function as Fusion did.
Absolutely. I love the layout, and you know I was a Fusion fan, Shawn. So I love that map next to the search. It really provides a more interactive, I guess you could say, experience, and it's easier for our members to see what's available as they're putting in criteria.
I think so.
Yeah.
So we had
What
a lot of
else?
questions about the A board data share. So, that's the Austin Board of Realtors. We have entered into an agreement with them to do a data share, very much like we've done with San Antonio. We're actively working to implement that data share, and we're anticipating by the end of Q3 to have that available to members. So you would have Austin data inside of Matrix, just like you do Sabor data.
Hmm.
And would like to add that the key share is already active. So your keys already work in the Austin area automatically, just like they do in San Antonio and Galveston. So I want to throw that in
Very
there.
good. Anything
And
else in the pipeline?
we've got one other agreement we've executed, and similar to a data share, but this is really called an intra-matrix reciprocal access agreement, really. And so a group called Omni MLS, they run the MLS for Mexico and Central America. And so rather than a data share, we're not acquiring their data and then putting it in Matrix, and they're not getting our data into their system. However, you'll be able to access their system, and they will be able to access our system. And it'll be a
Mm.
menu item off of Matrix. Then it'll drop down, and you'll see Omni MLS, and you'll click it, and you'll be entered into. They have a version of Matrix. They use CoreLogic just like we do, and they use Matrix, but it's a different implementation of Matrix.
Mm.
Every implementation of Matrix is a little bit different across the country, right? So,
Hmm.
and even in Mexico. So, but it'll be familiar. It's the same functionality that you see in our system, but it's a little bit different. But you'll get access to all of the Mexico and Central American properties. So, we think that'll be a good opportunity. We know not a lot of people are moving from there to the Houston area, and likewise, residents in this area looking for second homes in those countries.
Very good.
So
Well,
again, that's a Q3 type rollout. So we're going to be busy this quarter
Yeah.
rolling out these three initiatives.
Absolutely. It sounds like it. Well, you mentioned ABOR, the Austin Board, and the agreement that you're reaching there. Anytime we mention that, Shawn, everybody starts asking about what about this place? What about that place? So, are there any other associations that you are already in talks with or that you can mention with us today?
Yeah, well, we're in communications with Netris, which is the North Texas Real Estate Information Service. They handle the DFW area, and they're about over 50,000 subscribers in that area. We've got a good relationship with them. We've got open discussions, and it looks pretty positive that we'll be able to move forward on a similar data share like we've done with Austin and San Antonio. The real data shares where you're actually exchanging data or can be timely and expensive. And so you want to make sure it's kind of a major metro that you're doing a data share with. However, if there are smaller associations or MLSs around the state that use Matrix, this intra-Matrix solution that we're working with Omni MLS is a good solution to kind of share reciprocal access with smaller boards. It doesn't take the work of a data share, and it's a lot easier to implement. So that's something we'll be looking at as well. We're open to working with anyone around the state that wants to. Just like we have with HAR.com, we've worked with every MLS in the state to be able to display listings to consumers on HAR.com. So.
Very good. Thank you. Well, our members are sharing their excitement about Omni in the chat. There was a quick question that I think is a good point to mention just when we talk about specialization and things like that. Martin saying, do you have to be a part of CIPS to access Omni? Because you had mentioned Mexico.
No, it's going to be open to all of our subscribers.
Very good. All right. And again, our members are just excited about it. For a second, someone thought you said VFW. You said DFW, Dallas Fort Worth. So just to clarify for anybody that missed that. So very good. Thank you again, Shawn, for sharing that with us. Now, let's get into some of the MLS rule changes because we've all heard about the NAR settlement and how it will change. It's going to change the way we do business. So how are the MLS rules changing in order to adhere to the terms of the settlement?
Yeah, so the actual rule changes are pretty straightforward and simple, but when put in practice, they do raise a lot of questions. And so just the two fundamental changes that are occurring in the MLS with the rules are that the compensation is being removed from the MLS, right? So there's no offers of compensation to be had in the MLS on beginning August the 16th. And then the other rule is that you need a signed buyer agreement before you show a property to a client. And so, we'll get into a little more details on each one of those because there's a lot of, information, that needs to be had inside of each one. So, let's talk about, I guess, the no commissions in the MLS. So do you have a screenshot there that you want to pull up? Maybe go to the next one there. So really, what does this mean? No offers of compensation in the MLS? Well, it's really no mention of compensation in the MLS. You can't put it in the remarks. You can't put it in the photo descriptions. You can't put it on an attachment or showing instructions or offer instructions. This can't be anywhere in the MLS. Can't even be in a showing service or any platform that the MLS provides data to. So, we've had a lot of questions about that. How can I let people know that I'm willing to offer compensation? The good news is the settlement doesn't prohibit offers of compensation, sharing compensation from the listing broker or the seller to a buyer's agent off the MLS. Okay, so it's going to be up to the listing broker and agent how they're going to communicate those offers of compensation. The settlement has provided that you could do that on your website as long as it's just your broker's listings that have a display of compensation. And so that's pretty much it. I mean, the rule changes were basically a lot of strikeouts of the compensation and then adding in this new rule about the buyer representation agreement. Not necessarily a representation agreement, but a written buyer agreement. We're recommending the TAR buyer rep agreement because it's been amended to accommodate the requirements of the settlement. And so, while the rule changes seem easy, they have required form changes, right? So the listing agreement has changed, the buyer's rep agreement has changed, and that's something that our members are going to need to get familiar with, both of those forms. they're, they're not, changing wildly, but there are some new changes. So when you talk about that written buyer agreement, we've had questions. Well, what about an open house? If I'm hosting an open house and somebody walks in, do I have to have a buyer agreement signed with them just for them to see the property? And the answer is no. You're there on behalf of the seller when you're doing the open house. If you made a contact with somebody at an open house and you're going to show them a property later that day, then yes, you would need to enter into a buyer agreement with that person before you show them the property. So we've had questions on, well, who's going to enforce this? It's not up. The listing agent is not does not have to require, or request a copy of that representation agreement or that buyer agreement, right? It's up to the person that's showing the home to make sure that they have the agreement in place. The MLS will be the enforcement mechanism. We would do that a lot like we do the listing agreement today, right? Every listing requires a listing agreement. And when we have reason to believe that there may not be a valid listing agreement, we have the ability to request that. So we'll do the same thing with these buyer agreements. You're muted there.
Sorry. So let's pause there for just a second because I did see quite a few questions that came in. About compensation specifically, of course, there's going to be questions about that. Alwyn was asking, and Donna's question is kind of similar here. So Alwyn's asking, can the MLS have a link to broker websites showing the compensation?
Yes and no. We've asked. You cannot have a link straight to a detail page with compensation. So you can't put a link in the MLS. However, I will say in Matrix, there is a link to every office website, right? So you can have just your generic homepage, which is already in the MLS, right? We provide that. We put that there for you. So that there will be a link to the homepage of a website, but we have been told that the MLS cannot link directly to a detail page with compensation. So there'll be no ability for an agent to add a link that takes somebody outside the MLS to compensation.
Okay. Because there was also a question here that Donna was asking. She said she uses the HAR agent website, so she cannot put compensation on that website.
That is correct. I mean, if it's the website provided by har.com, will not have compensation on them, right? So
yeah.
I imagine what a lot of brokers will do is, work with their website vendors. Unfortunately, we're kind of handicapped. We can't do this because we are the MLS. But if you have a third-party IDX vendor or website vendor, you can ask them for a mechanism for you to upload your compensation to those listings directly outside the MLS.
And I haven't seen this question pop up yet today, but I do see it from time to time. Along that same point, I have seen members saying, well, why can't we just put the compensation in Showing Smart? So can you explain why that cannot happen either?
Yeah, the settlement was specific that, any platform where MLS contributes data, cannot have a commission, right, or any compensation. So, you can't, so not only the Showing Smart, any platform we're contributing data to. So I would discourage any broker from adding, a commission or compensation on their listing if it's displayed next to any other broker's listings, right? You don't want to be on a platform where there's more than one broker displaying their listings and their compensation, right? That could look like collusion or some of the issues we're seeing in the settlement. So as long as it's your broker's listings only and that compensation is being displayed, we believe we're okay. But as far as the MLS, you cannot even mention, agent willing to compensate or anything like that, right? I mean, so that will be a finable offense. I mean, we've never allowed compensation remarks inside of the photo captions or agent remarks. We've only allowed it inside of the fields for compensation in the past, and that will still hold true, except there will be no fields of compensation. So it's going to be a big change for members, and it's something we're watching, and we're just going to have to see how the market reacts, and how sellers and buyers and their agents are reacting to the settlement procedures.
Absolutely. Thank you. A few more questions here. Lenore was asking, can brokers create their own version of the buyer rep agreement?
Yes, they can. You don't have to use TRs. In fact, TR has both a long form, which is very similar to the one today, and they've also got a short form, which has meant there's a lot of times where an agent might just show up to do a showing, and so the buyer may not be willing to commit to a longer term buyer rep agreement. They might just want a short term, just something for that showing. I think that's kind of what the short form is intended to address.
Absolutely. And we have a few more questions, and I know that there's probably many, many more questions that will arise. But I do want to mention also, and we just put it in the comments, we do have a full list of FAQs on har.com/settlement. So we're going to go through a few more of the questions that I've seen come in. Don't worry. But if we do miss your question, or if another question arises later, har.com/settlement is an excellent resource. We encourage you to look at it, but also share it with other agents in your office so they can be aware of it as well. A couple more questions related to this topic that I wanted to ask. Marie has a good question here that probably applies to a lot of people, because we saw the effective date. I don't know if you mentioned it, but on those slides you had the effective date. Do you want to just mention that really quick?
Yeah, so I mean, you have to have these new agreements in place by August 16th. So if you have an existing listing agreement or you have an existing buyer rep agreement today on the old form, you'll need to get that amended before August 17th. Okay, and there's a TR form 2701. It's an amendment to representation agreement. And that one form 2701 can be used both for the listing or the buyer's agreement as an amendment, right, to get you in so that you'll be okay for the settlement going forward. So you could also just terminate your existing agreement, enter into a new listing agreement or a new buyer rep agreement under the new forms. They're already available, and I would encourage you to go ahead and start using those.
Okay.
So yes, if you've got an old agreement, you will need to get that amended or execute a new agreement prior to August 16th. And I might also mention, she talked about creating their own buyer rep form. There are certain things that the settlement calls for that have to be in that buyer rep agreement, right? And so you have to specify the amount that you're going to get paid. There's another caveat that you cannot, as a buyer agent, be paid more than you've agreed to with the buyer in the buyer rep agreement. So that if there was a bonus being offered, you're not eligible for that bonus if that was not addressed in the buyer rep agreement. You could always come back and amend that agreement if the buyer is agreeable for you to get that extra compensation or to split it, or however you guys decide. But at the end of the day, what you're going to be paid is going to be a discussion between you and the buyer, and going to be defined inside of that buyer rep agreement. Who actually does the payment? Now that's going to be, come down to negotiations and the contract. Could be the listing broker may still be sharing their compensation like they've traditionally done. It could be the seller offering compensation to the buyer side. So again, that'll be handled kind of through contract negotiations.
Great. Thank you so much there, Shawn. I've seen this question worded in probably 7 or 8 different ways. Can we put this in agent remarks? And it's worded in this question that Martin asked here: please contact agent to discuss offer of compensation. But I've seen other questions come in: can we say this in agent remarks? Can we say this in agent remarks? So clear it up for us here, Shawn. What can we and can we not say in those agent remarks?
The word compensation, commission, pay, none of that can be in the MLS. If you want to say please contact agent, okay, that's fine. Contact the agent. That's kind of a given. But in regards to discussing, any financial information, that would not be allowed in the MLS.
Okay, very good. Another great question here from Gary, kind of following up on Marie's question about updating the forms. Gary said the current active listings display compensation. So will that just disappear on August 16th if the property is not sold?
That is correct. So, on Friday, August the 16th, those fields will no longer be displayed in the MLS.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, just double checking. I saw a few other things here. Gary asked, what about leases?
Well, that's a good question. The compensation will be removed from leases, but the requirement to have a buyer agreement in place before you show a lease, there is an exception for leases, right? So you don't have to have the buyer agreement for leases.
Okay. Yes, and he was asking for the buyer rep. He followed up there. Okay, very good. All right. Again, a few more questions that I saw come in. I'm trying to get to as many as possible. We do have nar.com/settlement with a lot of frequently asked questions on there. This question I haven't seen asked yet, here at least. Ginger was saying, how does the BTSA from new builds work, and would an amendment be needed?
You would need an amendment, right? If it's above and beyond what you've agreed to in the buyer's agreement with the buyer, then you would have to go back to the buyer and amend that agreement to get any additional compensation.
Great, thank you. All right. think we've answered a majority of those questions. Again, sharing the website one more time, har.com/settlement, with a lot of the information that you're going to need. And to kind of wrap up at least this part, and we're going to talk about some education here in a second too, because I know we all need that. Nita's asking, didn't they appeal the settlement? Is it going to change the effective date? So I don't know how much you want to share about any updates that you know about the settlement, and then also what that means for us here locally as far as effective dates.
Well, I mean, the settlement is not final. It was scheduled to be finalized in November. Could there be appeals? Maybe. And could that be pushed out? However, the preliminary approval of this settlement, that's already been signed by the judge, requires these changes that we've talked about today be put in place before the final judgment is executed, right? Before there is a final settlement. So it's a little unusual, but that is part of the preliminary settlement, is that we enact these changes by August 17th. Okay, that's a Saturday, so we're doing it on August 16th, which is the Friday. But yeah, so I mean, we're going to be watching the appeals. I mean, it's probably unlikely that anything will change, but if it does, then we'll be prepared to make changes along the way. The Department of Justice has been watching our industry closely and watching these lawsuits. They haven't really weighed in on this settlement yet, but if the DOJ had their way, there would be no sharing of compensation up front. So there would be no sharing from the listing broker or even the seller prior to an offer being made and that done in contract. So we're not there yet. We are able to still share, but just doing it off the MLS. So again, we've been watching these lawsuits for close to 5 years now. They've taken a long time and to really reach where they are today. But we're going to continue watching them until there's final settlement.
Very good. A question that came in that actually I know we wanted to touch on as well. Teresa Hill is asking, can you address the new concession field and how that should be used?
Sure. Great question, Teresa. That was our next segment here anyway, is that, we are implementing a new field. It's going to be in Matrix and also displayed to consumers on HAR.com. And it's the seller may contribute to buyer expenses up to a certain amount, really. And so, what this field is really, it's intended to indicate a seller's willingness to consider contributing towards buyer expenses. It's not binding. This is just to get the negotiation started. It's not a unilateral offer like you did with compensation. This is just, again, a non-binding, and it's going to be negotiated as part of the final contract. And part of the new TR listing agreement, Form 1412, on paragraph 11, there's a checkbox to indicate if a seller may contribute to buyer expenses. And so you want to make sure that your listing agreement has that check before you enter in any kind of amount. And there's also another form for you to disclose the actual amount. So you'd want to get that TR amendment signed before you actually put an amount into this field. The one caveat is, what's in this field and how it's used is completely up to the buyer. Okay, so if the buyer wants to get new carpet, they got some repairs they need to make, if they want to buy down the interest rate, it's up to them how they use this. If they want to pay their buyer's broker out of this concession, they can do that as well. But it can't be conditioned on paying the broker fees, right? So the listing agent or the seller can't put a concession in the MLS and say, hey, this must be used to pay the buyer's broker. They cannot do that. So that's the new field in essence, right? This is nothing new. Agents have always offered concessions. They've just done it in the remarks in the past, right? So there's always been, closing costs paid by the seller, or potentially, allowances that have been offered inside of the MLS. So really, you see this when the market slows down. We've had years ago, we actually added a field under disclosures that says seller to contribute to buyer expenses. It doesn't have an amount, but it's just a value inside that field to indicate that the seller is willing to do that. And we implemented that in the last downturn, when sellers start looking for creative ways to market their property. So we've been having that request over the last year as well. And so this is just something, the timing kind of coincides with the settlement, but it's something we've been looking at prior to the settlement.
Great. Thank you so much, Shawn. Now, I know we tried to get as many questions as we could today, but I'm sure there's still questions and more to be learned, of course. How can our members learn more about the MLS changes and contract changes?
There's a few ways. I think the URL you mentioned, www.har.com/settlement, right? So we've got a lot of FAQs on there. So everything we talked about today plus more. We tried to cover every question that we've heard and answer them there.
Mhm.
We've had a webinar already. We've got an upcoming webinar next week that's going to discuss a lot of the things I talked about, get into a little bit more of the actual contract changes. But it's more of an overview. It's a 1 hour overview, and that's on July 23rd from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And we've also got a 3 hour CE course that really gets into more of the details. That's called The Forms You Need to Know. And that's a 3 hour CE approved class that we've also got going on next week. So, all of these can be registered at www.har.com/edu, and you can register for both the webinar or these contract classes.
Great, thank you. There was a question about those classes that I wanted to just address quickly. Claudia is asking if those classes are going to be in person. Can they invite other realtors? Can they share it? Of course, you can share the link to the class or the webinar with other members. I did also just want to mention, now they won't be in person. I don't think that we have a room big enough to accommodate all the people that are signing up for these webinars. I think there's 3,000 or so already signed up for the next webinar. So I don't know. Maybe we can run out Minute Maid or something. Sean, what do you think? But to Claudia's point, though, we do offer remote training. I believe the email address is remotetraining@har.com. And they can actually have somebody come out to your brokerage office if you have, I think it's a 20-person minimum. So if you're wanting something like that, depending on the class, you can contact our education department for that if you are looking for something more personalized for your office. All right, Sean. Well, I've got a few more questions for you, and I know there's still a few coming in. Pam is asking, what is the name of the class? The 1 hour class on the 23rd. That is the webinar that Sean just mentioned, and that is called Ready or Not, Change is Coming. It is a 1 hour webinar that begins at 11 a.m. There is also the 3 hour CE class that Sean mentioned called The Forms You Need to Know, and all of those classes can be found on the education website. har.com/edu is the best place to go for that. You can also email them, education@har.com, if you have any general education questions for our professional development department. Now, I do want to address a question that came in a few times, so I want to make sure that we touch on it. And I have seen this from time to time on social media. And it's basically, Anastasia's asking, how do we stop listing syndication with third-party websites or other platforms? This specific homeowner wants their property only listed on har.com.
Well, it really depends. I mean, when you're talking about Zillow is actually a broker member of the MLS, just like every other broker member, right? And so if you're going to put the listing into the MLS and you're participating in the IDX program, which allows other brokers to advertise your listing, it's going to be on other brokers' websites, including Zillow, and that's, and HAR.com. So, you can opt out of third-party portals that aren't brokers, right? Well, really, Realtor.com is the only third-party portal today that we're syndicating listings to. We do not have a deal with HotPads, so I'm curious if your listing's on HotPads. It's not something we've provided, so I would have to look at that on a one-off and see why they might be getting your listings. But the short answer is, if you want it on HAR.com, you will have to allow other brokers to display it on their websites. And just remember that Zillow does have a Texas real estate license and has joined the board and the MLS.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for that clarification. Another question I have for you, Sean, unrelated to some of the things that we've been talking about today, but I think still very important, because we know how important it is for our members to be able to showcase their market knowledge. In case members don't know, where can they find market stats if they're looking for, generally overall for Houston, or maybe something more specific to their areas that they work?
Yeah, there's a number of reports that we make available. I would say, if you Google HAR.com newsroom, there's a lot of canned reports that we put out weekly and monthly that you can use and you can share with your clients. There's also off the menu, it's called a GMA trending report, which stands for our geo market area. It really breaks down every market area and the activity over the last 12 months. And there's a link to a landing page for that particular community that you can then share with clients. It's got a lot of statistics about the community and some video statistics. And so it's just a nice way to share with clients. So that's one. Those cover kind of entire markets, except for the GMA does really kind of focus in on the market areas. But I think within Matrix, I like under the market reports, there's a link to month's inventory. And then you can get a little more granular and get into your neighborhood or your zip code or particular price range and get what's happening in that particular locale with a month's inventory, what's sold, what's active. Nice little report. Another one inside Matrix I really like is just from the quick search. Put in your own criteria that you want stats over. Maybe you want something sold in the last year in this particular zip or subdivision, this square foot range, whatever criteria you want. And once you get your search results, you can click on the stats button and get a quick stats over the based on the results that you had. Or click Quick CMA. That's also a nice summary report that kind of summarizes all the activity of the listings that you've selected. So these are all things, and then if you really want to get a deep dive, you go into Matrix Stats, and then you can really do some cool 5-year trends. It's a lot more robust system, but it takes a little more knowledge and know-how to really generate those types of stats. And so what I've seen from a lot of agents, they don't want to have to go there every month and then email or share. They just want to set something up for their client and kind of forget about it. So I would recommend, Market Insights is a great product. So I would set every client that I have, every past client that I have up for their own house, all right? And so they can see what's going on in their market area, new listings that come on, what's sold, what's the average price, and it really just keeps them abreast of what's happening in their market, and it's all branded to the agent. Once you set it up, you don't have to go every week and email them. They automatically get that report every week or every month, however you want to send it to them. So Market Insight is a very popular product most of our users already know about, but I would really, think that's a good product for them to use to share their knowledge.
Very good. Thank you. Alwyn was just asking a question, or basically it was more of a comment, but I did want to address it. I wish I would have a class explaining some of the stats available in Matrix. There's some that I run the search, but I'm not sure what they're telling me. I do know that they cover some of this in the Matrix customizations class. I believe that's the part 2 Matrix class. And sometimes we offer webinars. Do you have any other suggestions there, Shawn?
The help text in Matrix, on the top right under the settings, there's a help text, and it really gives a user guide on every function and feature inside of Matrix. If you really want a deep dive, you can kind of go through the Matrix help, and it'll kind of dive down. If you've got something specific that you're just not getting addressed, I would call our QA department, and we'll get you in touch with somebody that can help you.
Very good. There is also a question here about market insight training. Now, I know this is something that we offer pretty regularly as well. Do you want to share a little bit about this, Shawn?
Yeah, well, that's kind of our MLS Platinum training. So there's classes that are CE approved that kind of go over all the tools that are included in MLS Platinum. So it's, including market insights and all the other great tools that our technology department has built. So I would encourage everyone to attend that training. Take advantage of the tools you already have, right? If you're an MLS Platinum agent.
Absolutely. Very good. Well, thank you so much for that, Shawn. Well, you've shared a lot today. You tackled every question that came in. I truly appreciate that, and I know our members do too. A comment here from Mario Arriaga. He said, very timely and informative session today and very well presented by Shawn and Christina. So thank you so much, Mario. And of course, thank you, Shawn, for all this information. I do have one more question for you that I ask all of our guests, and that's just, is there anything else that you want to share with us today? I know you've covered a lot, but do you have any final thoughts for us today?
Well, there's a lot of changes coming our way, but, we're going to get through this. It looks more scary than it probably will be, right? So I would encourage first steps is, get your existing agreements amended, right? So that you're in compliance, start using the new agreements, get familiar with the new agreements. And again, a lot of this is still fluid. We're going to keep watching the market and listening to our members and making changes as needs to be done.
Very good. And if members have questions about any of the MLS features that were mentioned today, who can they contact?
Well, you can contact MLSQA@HAR.com. That is, led by Nathan Goebel and Natalia Carrillo. They do a great job of supporting our members, and we've got a staff there that's there to assist with listings, matrix questions, or anything you've heard today, including MLS Platinum.
Very good. Well, thank you again, Shawn. Lots of thank yous coming in. Great info. Teresa Hill said, thank you, Shawn. You and your MLS team are the best. And I definitely agree. Well, thank you again, Shawn, for today. I know we went a little over time, but I think it was necessary to answer some of our member questions. Again, Shawn mentioned har.com/settlement, where you can find more information if we didn't answer your questions today, or if you're watching a replay and have a question arise. That is it for this Member Focus Monday. We will be back next Monday at 9 a.m. So be sure to mark your calendars, and we'll see you then. Thank you, and have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.